Good evening and thank you to the city. Welcome to the City of New Franklin Council meeting. I think we're going to start off tonight's meeting with a presentation.
Yes, we have with us Ryan Smalley and Jennifer Six from Envision, and they are the economic development outsource team, and been working with Ryan and Jennifer and their team, with our internal team, with the primary focus on State Route 93. As I think everybody knows by now, the sewer will be in the ground by end of July next year. And what comes next is the question. So we're trying to be proactive with that, and the Envision team has been extremely helpful. And they're here tonight to present sort of an update on where things are and what they've learned and what direction we may want to go once this sewer gets in the ground. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ryan and Jennifer.
We don't want to hear it, we're just leaving. Good, how are you?
Great, good evening everyone. My name is Jennifer Six with the Envision Group, a planning firm and economic development strategy firm located in Cleveland, Ohio.
Jen, hold on 1 second. Are you picking up the audio? Okay, great. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. We're pleased to be able to present the findings of the last 6 or 7 months that we've been in Franklin, focusing on the Manchester Road corridor. That has been our task. And I've done some work in New Franklin in the past, and it was always a lot of fun to work in New Franklin, but without proper infrastructure, it's really hard to get the type of amenities that you desire: coffee shop, grocery store, doctor's office. So what we want to talk to you about tonight, we'll follow an agenda, is establishing the realities and the expectations that the city has, and where we can go from here. We did perform an assessment of the Manchester Road corridor, a market analysis, developer outreach, and we can go into a lot more detail on that. But at the same time, as we were looking at the corridor development, we really wanted to also be in tandem with the zoning. And so we are currently working with the zoning staff on that as well to make sure that the types of uses that the city desires on the Manchester Road are also the ones that we can go after as we look for target development sites on Manchester Road. The reality is water and sewer are coming. And now is the time to think about how you want to manage growth, what types of amenities, businesses, types of residential developments you want to see in the city. Because if you don't have a plan, and we've worked in a lot of communities, cities, villages, and townships, that if they don't have a proper plan and a proper zoning in place, sometimes you get what you get. And this plan will help guide for the future of what you want to see along the Manchester Road corridor. So in preparation, Mayor has a wonderful map that we have been using for years on Manchester Road and identifying large lots for possible redevelopment. As you know, this is a township. Large lots, long lots along the corridor. But with Manchester Road being the current focus, because we know we have utilities, it made the most sense to focus along Manchester Road, around Vanderhoof down to Grace Church, and then eventually Grace Church down to Minnesota, and maybe wrapping around so that we can eventually provide water, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but providing water to the schools. We also took a look at your comprehensive master plan, as we know that there were some guidelines in that plan that the city desires to want to see moving forward. So we began in April, May-ish. It was originally a 12-month contract, with the first part being on Manchester Road, and then the second part being along State Route 619 as it relates to the waterline development and all the work that you're doing there. So as I mentioned, Vanderbilt and Grace Church being the main target area, because that has water, it will have sewer. We assessed almost all of the properties along the Manchester Road corridor, as well as public water systems, to see what would make sense for a redevelopment opportunity. We also looked at your zoning, the current zoning and the future zoning, but also steep slopes, wetlands, stormwater issues, that may be along the corridor, and have identified some of those issues. Of the 32 parcels, we started reaching out to property owners that had large tracts of land that could be used for development. Mostly, well, as you know, if you've been involved in any of the planning and zoning meetings, the Manchester Road corridor is scheduled for rezoning for what's called mixed use. And that is an MU3 classification, and that should be finalized in the next few months. What MU3 allows for is single-family residential and some commercial. And in some cases, some very, very light, well, retail, commercial, and some residential. We identified 4 properties along Manchester Road, and we reached out to a lot of them, but 4 of them came back and said that they would be willing to entertain redevelopment at some point in the future. And so we've been talking with those property owners. We've identified the zoning, the address, the parcel ID numbers, and where the water and sewer connections will eventually be. I'll turn that over.
Jen, can you go back to that last one and talk about the acreage involved there?
Sure. Roughly, oh gosh, let's see. One
It's
is close to 18 acres, another one around 17, then there's 11, and then another one that's around 14 acres.
So as part of this, we also, I'll just, so as part of this as well, you know, we're in thinking about the corridor holistically and thinking about potential development coming with the utilities, we wanted to take a look at the trade area, the market area, and start to understand what's realistic from a market perspective, based on who's traveling along the corridor today, who's frequenting some of the retail along the corridor, what's the buying power in that area, and what could we expect once sewer and water comes, what's realistic. Most of this looking to sort of set expectations for staff, but also to inform the zoning code update. As mentioned, we started this back in April, May. We're kind of working in tandem to say, well, hey, is this actually a viable zoning district? Not just from what we want to see, but is this actually something that the market could support? We don't want to zone every parcel 100% commercial, and there's no possible way that a blood road would be filled. So we wanted to try to inform that update, so we used a whole slew of different tools. Placer AI is a cell phone tracking software, so people are watching you go places. It's anonymous, but there's a lot of data that gets collected every 15 minutes. It pings to a satellite, and you can tell where people shop, and based on where people shop and where their phone is at night, there's a lot of information that can be extrapolated to household demographics and income. By how long someone stays at a place, that can be extrapolated out how much money people on average spend at that place. So it's very helpful for us when we're looking at a market to say, this is the area where people are frequenting and their demographics are this, and thus there's this much supply of that retail end use in this area. There's this much buying power. There's a gap, and maybe in that gap we could, redevelop some areas to address that need. So we use that along with CoStar and Bureau of Labor Statistics data to look at a couple sort of representative locations along the corridor. We didn't look at every retail establishment, but the McDonald's, the Dollar General, those are sort of neighborhood establishments where locals are going to be frequenting more than even some of the others. So we wanted to use both of these as sort of the test case to sort of establish the trade area. This map's a little hard to see up here, but this is what's called the true trade area. So this is over the last year where 70% of the most frequent visits have come from. These blobs, the red blob represents the McDonald's true trade area, and the bluish blob that sort of overlaps, it's Dollar General. So what this does, you see a lot of overlap there. What this does is help us to understand, where people are coming from to frequent these establishments. Obviously, you think about this in your mind, you say, yeah, of course, people in the neighborhoods around it are using these facilities, but typically in the past, people would take a trade area, they put a dot on the map, they draw a 10-mile radius and say, that's who's coming. And the reality is that's really not who's coming. There's a lot of gaps in that, and this gives us a much more accurate idea of the buying power within that area, and then we can compare that to what types of end uses are in that area, in that trade area, to establish how much supply of that business is within the trade area and what competition is, and maybe is there excess demand. And there is a couple areas where there's excess demand. So this is a graphic just sort of showing the overlap of Dollar General and McDonald's in their trade area. So people that shop at Dollar General tend to also go to McDonald's. We can look at how people travel, where they travel from. Do they come from home to here to there to make their shopping destinations? We went into much more in the weeds with staff when we did this. We also looked at the local. I'm blanking on this. For Portage Lakes, for tourists, for local tourists, we wanted to also take a look and say, hey, there obviously is some local tourism attraction with the state park. Does that have an impact? Are people from the state park coming to this corridor? Are they using this corridor for, to spend money? And at the moment, not really. I mean, mostly Portage Lakes is very difficult because it's such a big area and it's local. People are going to spots all along the lakes and not really coming necessarily off the lake. So we wanted to look at both that and the local market to just sort of get an idea of what's going on. Income levels roughly between 76 and 82,000 a year. We can track that based on those trade areas. These locations do see upticks in visitation in the summer months in sort of correlation with some of the tourism. But really what we ended up finding was that there are a handful of business sectors that do have a little bit of excess demand, not a ton, but enough to where we could say, well, yeah, hey, the zoning code update, we should be, allocating a certain percentage of the land along Manchester for retail commercial expansion, not just have it all be residential. Things highlighted in red are business sectors that kind of speak to that mixed use zoning district, so health and personal services, general merchandise stores, restaurants, both sitting full service sit down restaurants, and then like Chipotle's, had a little bit of demand within those trade areas. So ultimately helped inform the zoning update. Really the main takeaways from the market analysis are, for bigger things, for grocery stores, some small office, those types of things, there needs to be more rooftops. Grocery stores don't just show up, along corridors just because. There's a reason. There's a lot of people that they can pull from. So residential development along this corridor, if things are going to develop, residential development's key to be able to bring more of those rooftops in, to be able to attract some of those additional end uses that when we were talking with staff, we said, we'd love to have these things. And that would be great. We want to allocate the potential for that in the zoning update. But the reality is that those things aren't probably going to show up until more homes are to the west of 93. And a lot of what this is saying on here is basically what I just sort of reiterated. So, all of this helped inform the zoning code update. As we were going through and thinking about this slide's a little bit out of place, but I'll still speak to it. As we're thinking about the corridor itself, Manchester Road holistically, we noticed in the comprehensive plan there was a lot of ideas and recommendations about sidewalks and trails and decorative lighting. And I think when we're thinking about the corridor from a development perspective, we'd be remiss if we don't think about corridor improvements themselves and what does the city want to get out of this corridor if things do develop, even though it's a state route and no doubt would obviously have to widen the road and do those things if traffic demanded it. What kind of asks can the city look to either try to get out of a developer in the future or leverage future economic development incentives to pay for certain things? So we had some discussions with staff about, in the comprehensive plan, these are things that were highlighted. I think it might be wise to at least keep those top of mind as we're thinking about the corridor holistically. So if something like, I know Vanderhook, the trail's been talked about, connecting the towpath up to the state park, could that connect down Manchester Road? And maybe some of that funding could be captured in a future TIF district or something. There are ways that you can leverage potential development along this corridor to get something that the city wants along the corridor. Maybe it's streetscaping, maybe it's decorative intersections, maybe it's street trees, or whatever it might be. We want to at least be able to say, or have at least in our minds, what an ask could be along that corridor if development occurs. So we looked at some things. We looked at spacing for a trail and sidewalks, and there's space to be able to do that within the right of way. But I think going forward, part of the continued discussion should be, if development does occur along Manchester, this is sort of our main north-south corridor, what do we want this to be if it did have to be improved or widened? Is there anything we'd want to see so that if ODOT did come through, we could maybe lop on and ask and say, hey, can this be also added? This is a part of our comprehensive plan. This is part of this economic development study. This would be something we're looking to fund. So we wanted to at least continue to look holistically at the corridor and not just be laser focused on development off the corridor. As I said, this all kind of integrated into zoning changes. Jen mentioned mixed use MU3 is mostly what's within the area we're looking at along Manchester Road there, circled in red. So horizontal mixing of uses, I have some examples of what that is. So retail in the front, basically residential in the back, not vertical, which most people would think about when they think mixed use. A lot of people think, retail on the bottom, homes on the top. Here we're looking at more of a horizontal mixed use on the same parcel, but a variety of housing options. And I think walkability was something that we wanted to have integrated into that zoning code, just based on how close it is to Porter's Oaks Park as well. So just some ideas, some things that, these are example developments that have occurred sort of in similar situations that sort of meet that zoning that's being proposed along the corridor. This is Market 42 in Medina County. US 42, state route, just like 93. There's a market in the front that just was completed as part of this development. In the back, you can see a subdivision a stub road subdivision was sitting there undeveloped for a long time. As part of this is a sort of an example of horizontal mixed use, where in the front you have some retail, behind it you have some housing. In this case, it was townhomes, but something similar could occur along Manchester Road based on zoning, based on some of the needs from the market analysis. An additional option in Powell, this is northern side of Columbus. Again, an expanding city along a suburban corridor. Again, looking more sort of traditional horizontal mixed use, where you have retail out front and you have condos behind it. Again, something similar could, maybe not to the level of density that's shown here, but the idea that there could potentially be retail in the front and residential in the back. This is just another image of some of those proposed developments down in Powell. I'll go back to Jen real quick for the water line.
Absolutely. And one thing that Ryan mentioned, Placer AI, CoStar, Esri, all data that we use is the same that developers will use. So a grocery store chain, a fast food restaurant, a limited service hotel, they're all using the same type of data. That's why we like to use it, because we know it's true, and we know that's what we're going to be looking at. And we've worked in communities that have had affluence, but they don't have the population. They're between 12 and 15,000 people. They have money to drive development, but developers aren't coming because they don't have the rooftops. And we're not saying we need to flood the city with rooftops, but we want to do it in the right way so that we can manage the split in the MU3 district of our Manchester corridor, where you have a nice mix of retail and commercial and office. And then that can support the residential that's likely to come. We have talked with a few developers to express interest. We're not brokering any deals with any property owners or developers. But what we wanted to do was float the idea out to the general development public that Manchester Road is ready and will be ready for redevelopment when the time comes. And here's the zoning that'll match with it. Because zoning is really what's going to drive it all. We have been working on the water project. If you recall, there was a principal forgiveness loan years ago that allowed for phase 1 to come through. We are now looking at a potential water project, phase 2, which would extend the water from Grace to Minnesota. I mentioned this earlier. We've also interviewed most of all the public water systems along Manchester Road. This would also allow for Manchester School District to be serviced with clean drinking water. And as you know, when you bring in utilities, development will come. Everybody really wants sewer, and that would be the next goal.
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second. That those discussions that we're having with Aqua, the water provider, and also with the Ohio EPA, and many of the same players that we dealt with on the previous project, and they have indicated they're excited about this project, and we look for excited to translate to the same type of capital contribution to fund this in the range of $4 to $5 million, $4 to $5 million. with Aqua picking up half and the Ohio EPA doing principal forgiveness on the other half. So we've got a possibility and opportunity here to extend this water. And it would extend it not only from Grace to Nimisila, down Nimisila to Renninger to get to the schools who desperately, well, desperately is the right word, but they need it. And then the loop would continue to Center Road, go east down to Will Drive, and go Will over to Caston. And now they have the loop that's very beneficial in terms of pressure, and also brings that water right to the doorstep of the DP remediation area. So all of those things are attractive to the Ohio EPA, and we're working real hard on that one. The applications, I think, go in February 1st, so that'll be coming, and we'll hopefully it'll be a project that we're able to secure for the city without cost to the city. Thanks. And I would say that Jennifer was involved the last time around, the last water project, so she has that same hands-on experience with this and the familiarity and relationships with the Ohio EPA, which are gigantic.
So one last thing I just wanted to update council on is, I mentioned incentives earlier in this discussion. I think part of what we've also been doing is working with staff and trying to educate staff on some of the tools that are out there that can be used to leverage development for infrastructure improvements. So that could be, helping a roadway in a development get constructed, or it could be something along Manchester Road that you want to see that's a wish list item. It could be water sewer infrastructure extending onto some of those properties. There are tools available, especially with the way that the existing conditions are. A lot of these are green fields. Their property values are low. If development goes on those properties, property values could increase. TIF is a tool that's been around for a long time to sort of capture some of that. Obviously, there's a lot of details in that. We've been trying to present these ideas to staff so that they're up and educated on some of the things that we might be able to leverage from this. It doesn't mean you have to. It's just an idea in community authority, something that's relatively new, especially up here. It's a developer-driven tool, but something that, again, could leverage different types of, especially in a mixed-use district, can leverage sales tax, can assess property owners within the district to be able to maintain and operate certain improvements within a large subdivision. So these are tools that are being used down in Columbus, Cincinnati area quite frequently. Another tool that we've educated staff on, and they're going to continue to because these are very nuanced, and something that if a developer were to come, is it something that we want to consider? Is there an ask that we have that we think might make sense, and will this help subsidize it? There's also a ton of grants. I just sent another one today, a new program that came out through the Ohio Department of Development to help subsidize large housing projects, over 100 units. They're providing some grant dollars that is brand new this year and be around again next year. So we want to continue to keep on top of that and educate the staff and bring that to council when there is something that makes sense to at least consider.
Some of the final items left in our contract for the Manchester Road corridor is to develop a draft prospectus for developers. What this does is it enables the city to highlight it's more than a marketing sheet, because it'll drill down a little bit more into some of the financial benefits for developing the New Franklin. So we have a draft of that that's ready to go. I continue to maintain open lines of communication with property owners, talk to them as frequently as I can to make sure they knew that this meeting was coming tonight, so they were informed. But also looking at other possible grants and incentive opportunities that the city can capture for future development. Again, this is managed growth. This is the city's plan. This is the city council plan. This is your opportunity to regulate, manage, and encourage the type of growth that you want along Manchester Road. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
And I would just add also that while this has been going on, also at the table there have been discussions about the State Route 619 corridor. We were fortunate to obtain a planning grant from AMATS to take a look at what possibly could happen there, and how we can beautify that area, how we can maximize the potential for that area. So Envision has been involved. They're up to speed on all of that, and I think kind of when we get ready to turn the page on this one, it'll be time to put the heavy focus on 619. All right, thanks you guys.
Thank you very much.
Easiest way, yeah. All will work.
Right? Yeah, that's what I do. It's like, I usually don't, I don't see why not?
We'd like to start our committee. We're going to start off with our first committee, the Safety Committee. Ms. Jones.
Resolution number 25R71. A resolution accepting the proposal and authorizing an agreement with Wadsworth Solutions for the upgrading of access control equipment for the city of New Franklin and declaring an emergency. This is really kind of unique, I thought, and we have Stephen Cook here, who I think you told me that you did a walkthrough with 11 of the 12 people that wanted to service this area. I think it's kind of neat. I'm going to just read some of the things that you told me that it's going to do, which I thought was terrific. The city currently has 3 different access control systems across the city, which require separate fobs for each system. The oldest system is at the City Hall. That system's on its last leg, which is why the upgrade came through. The proposed system would put all the doors and gates on one system. Every employee in the city will have one fob and a pen that can be used at all doors if permitted based on rules. There will be one central point where users can be added, credentials updated, logs can be viewed, doors can be locked, dispatch, etc. The proposed system is a cloud-based system, which means there will not only be servers, there will not be any servers or software at each building. All buildings will just connect via internet. That's the reason for the subscription cost for the cloud. Now, what I thought was interesting, and probably a safety thing that I didn't even think about, right now, we don't have that. Everybody uses the same PIN. Am I correct in that assumption? And it doesn't get changed as often as it should, which is one of the major things. And Kevin had a very good question too. Kevin, do you want to tell him what your question was? I thought that was
Yeah, I
very good.
sent Stephen an email. My question is, if this is a web or cloud-based solution, how does that work if there's an outage for connectivity?
For sure.
So say you come up and you swipe your fob or something, they can't ping back to its home base. How does it know to accept your fob or ping?
So everything's stored locally at each reader and within each building. So everything would still work like normal. The logs would kind of query at each building, and as soon as internet is restored, all of that data from each building would get sent back up into the cloud. So everything would work like normal. The only thing that wouldn't be able to be done is add in users, because that would be like the cloud talking to each reader. So you couldn't do that during an outage. You also couldn't do remote door unlocks. So like you couldn't be in the cloud or be on the portal and unlock a door, obviously, because that connection is not there. The unique thing with this building in particular is we have redundant internet. So This building would be fine. We have our station 1 fire department, both stations, and then the service department. They only have one internet, so there would be really nobody would experience any issues like employee wise. Everything would accumulate, and then when the internet comes back, it'd be back up and running.
And this company that we are looking at going with, as I understood it, Stephen told me that they have serviced several different communities. And I was surprised at how many different types of businesses that they do cover.
Yeah.
Do you want to go over those, Stephen?
Yeah, so I've had a couple different conversations with the vendor, Wadsworth Solutions. And he actually, the account manager actually showed me kind of what the web portal would look like, and just kind of a demo. But he had told me that they service all modern hearing solutions. I believe it's like a hearing center. All of those buildings, they service FlexJet, which is a commercial worldwide private jet company. He told me they have locations all over the world, Europe, everywhere, and it's all cloud-based. So all they do is plug in over here in Ireland or England or wherever, and one person can control the whole thing. They also do access control for they do access control and cameras for Cleveland Hopkins Airport, as well as currently just cameras for Akron Canton Airport. So those are a couple that kind of I took from big corporations, big businesses.
And the pricing, it seems pretty high, but it's not as high as a lot of bids that you got. Right now, the quotation for doing the buildings is like $54,000.
Correct.
It's about $52,994.
Mhm.
And then there's also a cost of $7,184.32.
Yes.
And that's for a single door controller.
So that's for the gate at the service department. So currently their gate is kind of like a dumb gate. You enter a code and the gate opens. What this would do is tie it to this same program, so you can audit who's opening the gate, all the credentials and the fobs, PIN numbers you use to open this door. You could also use to open that door, and of course it's all regulatory based on permissions. But that 7,000 would be connecting that service department gate to the rest of the system.
And basically, each one of the facilities now, everybody that goes in, you have your own PIN number, so you can always know who entered. And as it stands right now, we can't do that.
Correct.
Am I correct?
You are correct. So there are some doors currently. So one of the big reasons, and the biggest reason it got brought up this conversation, the access control in this building is, I believe, was done when the building was built. So there's currently a computer sitting in Chief Pickett's office running Windows 7. If anybody knows what that means, it's a very old,
Even I know that.
it's a very old operating system, let alone a program. So to even turn the computer on, it's on its last leg, and when that computer dies, it's going to be, we're going to have to look at solutions because we're not going to be able to add fobs, update fobs, view logs. So that's kind of the biggest part, or the reason the conversation started. The second reason, like you mentioned, a lot of the doors, not only here, but at both fire departments, it's a mechanical push button key code. So I'll be honest, that code doesn't get changed as much as it should, and there's no way to tell who's been in that door, who's typed that code in. So this project would get rid of all of those mechanical locks and make it all auditable with everybody having their own PIN number and fob.
And it sounds like we've been very fortunate that we haven't had an accident up to this point.
Multiple accidents, whether the computer failed or if there was some kind of security event. Yeah, unfortunately, there would be no way to tell who came in one of these doors, but with this proposed and really any solution, any kind of updated technology, just where we're at in today's world, that's all auditable, and you can check who went into what door at what time.
And the other cost is $15,141.18, and that's a yearly contract for the cloud.
So not yearly, that would be 5 years.
5 years, I
15,000.
apologize, honey, yes.
So yeah, there's multiple. We can do 1 year, 3 year, 5 year.
But 5 was the least expensive?
You're
I think
able
it's
to lock them in for the 5.
correct.
Right.
So because we picked the 5 year, we would be locked in for that 5 years, and there was actually cost. It's not huge, but there was a cost savings the more years you buy. So yes, and because to kind of touch on that, the clouds, you can either have like on-prem, which is where you put a server in every building, and then you have to maintain the servers and do the updates to all those servers and those equipments. That's option one. Or you do cloud-based, which you have none of that, but you have to pay to host it, in the cloud.
So with the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, does anyone have any questions?
So with the gate closure that's going at the service department, is that going to change the operation of the service department? I think right now you guys leave the gate open through the day. Does that go to an operation now where it closes every time somebody goes in and out, or does this remain open?
So that's completely customizable, and that's the nice thing. Like, for example, one of the doors would be like this door right over here. So you can set schedules. So you can have it unlocked from 8 a.m. to 4, just how we have it now. It would be the same thing for the gate. Brian can set however he wants it. If you would like to close at all times, that's a possibility. Or again, you can create a schedule and have it open during certain hours and then close. And then after, once it's closed, you would have to pop in or keypad it. So that's the nice thing about technology is just, the things you can do. Visitor credentials, I did mention to Judy, contractors or anybody coming in, it takes a minute for any department head to issue a temporary credential, and you can pick what doors they would have access to. Again, it's just temporary, so then you can either set an end date and time, and then vendors can get in as needed.
So when anyone leaves, quite honestly, leaves employment even, that's automatically, you cut that off at that time, so they don't have access anymore. I thought that was really good.
100%. Within seconds. I mean, you just disable that person's credentials.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, how many bids did you
The total lead.
get? And can you share the amount of some of those other bids with us?
Yeah, lowest one was 50, was Wadsworth, I think at 55. Actually got it right here. So the range was from 55 all the way up to 140. So we had 55, 61, 66, 75, 79, 82, 98, and 140.
And also, Stephen, I noticed on this that company also services some of the area municipal buildings too. So they are familiar with that.
Yes, and I didn't happen to write down specific. I believe in our conversation, it was mentioned that there are some city buildings they cover also.
Just by way of a little bit of background too, and I'm sure Steve can talk to it even more so. We started out like earlier in the year, sitting down with all the department heads and saying, okay, what are the most important things that we need to fix or upgrade here that for security reasons? And this is kind of phase 2 of that. Phase 1 was the new cameras everywhere and we basically decided that was the most the one that needed fixed the most, and this would be phase 2 because obviously this one's important too, but the cameras were hooked into dispatch and those kinds of things, and they were old and they weren't exactly in the best condition. So this is kind of phase 2 of that whole yearly process or project that we wanted to secure the buildings.
Yeah. And like she said, so we sat down, in the beginning with all the department heads, talked about what doors do we want protected, what doors do we not, got their ideas. There are a couple doors that we had added just because of, how the building has become. So a lot of those doors are either redos, where we're just going to update the credentials, or they're new doors.
Does anyone have anything else? Jim?
Do we currently have security issues?
Not that I know of.
And you mentioned that this building is the biggest concern because of the age of the system and being on its last leg.
Sure.
In the rest of the buildings, they have what they have now. And as Ms. Cook mentioned, we have cameras everywhere.
Mm-hmm. So
we may not be able to track them through the cloud, but we can look to see who's coming in and out of our buildings. This is $75,000. Of that, $30,000 of it is just labor. $75,000. We can do a lot with $75,000. We can, a new truck for the service department, a new cruiser for the police department, a new truck, not fire truck, but one of their chase vehicles for fire department. So, I mean, I have a hard time justifying spending $75,000 when we don't have a security issue. It sounds like a fantastic system, and I'm sure it is. But, you know, we're not flying jets all over the world either.
Sure.
We currently don't have a security issue. I mean, obviously, we need to solve something within this building to allow people to come in and out. But I don't know that that's worth $75,000.
If I could, let's not overlook the problem we have with our current system in the police department that's running Windows 7. We've had this conversation in the past in terms of fobs for new employees, and can we even issue them? And then when you have terminations, normally they're orderly, but they're not always orderly. Sometimes they're sudden. And the ability to immediately cut off access, I think, is a big one. But the situation which really brought all this to a head was we got a problem in the sense that we have very antiquated equipment, and if it goes down, we're going to have to replace it, and we're going to have to replace it suddenly. Maybe not in a situation where we can go out and get 10 or 11 bids. It's 53,000, and then the service department added 7, so that's 60,000 is the upfront money. The 15,000, that's 3,000 a month. 3,000 a year for the next 5 years.
Right.
So in year one, we're at $63,000.
Of which 30,000 is just labor.
Well, that's not how it works.
I mean,
Yeah, I understand. I just got my brakes done, and the brakes weren't very expensive, but the labor was, cost a lot of money. And Mr. Cox, I don't mean to be frivolous, but that's why we went out and got as many bids as we got. We put an RFP together to see what we were getting, and as you can see, there were some that the price was almost too good to be true in a sense. But I'm absolutely confident that this isn't just a Band-Aid. I think this is a fix that takes us well into the future. And I think it's a necessary one, as well. We were a little bit concerned with Wadsworth, so we looked real hard at them. Because that number was low, but they were competitive. I don't know if they needed the business right now. When I heard Cleveland Hopkins Airport, that sort of closed the deal for me in terms of evaluating these people, because I understand clearly access control at an airport is critical. And they trusted the contract to these people. So I have full confidence in the vendor. It's really a reasonable price. But so I get your point, but I don't. This isn't something I see from the city's perspective. Hey, this is nice. Let's just do this now. This is necessary, I think.
How old is our existing system? It's 17, 18 years old.
How old is it
I
built?
believe 2004, what I heard is when the building was placed.
Yeah.
And some of the locks, like, to the police are mechanical, they are not on a system. And they were here and they were put in when the building was built over 20 years ago.
Does anyone have any other comments? Any questions? Does anyone want to waive the 3, or would you like to take time? What do you prefer? You're okay voting tonight? Everybody else? Jim, you okay? Okay. And I'll close the safety meeting at 6:44.
Thank you. Next is going to be our Streets and Drainage Committee, Mr. Allman.
Thank you. We'll open the Streets and Drainage Committee at 6:43 p.m. with resolution number 25R72, a resolution authorizing New Franklin to participate in the Summit County Engineers Regional Pavement Maintenance Program for 2026 and declaring an emergency. We have participated in this in a few years now. This comes up every year. This is through the county engineer. They do like a bulk package for seasonal roadwork stuff. So every year we have to buy the tar and everything that goes on the roads. And the county saw an issue with that, with it being expensive, so they thought if they did a big bundle and was able to help purchase everybody involved and make it cheaper for all the municipalities in the county, for all of us. And we don't have to buy it from them, but it allows us the option to use this program as well. So it does help save the city some costs with annual work that we do every year. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? We're waiving the 3? Perfect. We'll close the Streets and Drainage Committee at 6:44 p.m.
All right. Next up would be Finance Committee, Mr. Cox.
Thank you. We will open a finance committee meeting at 6:45. A resolution to adopt an updated investment policy for New Franklin and declaring an emergency. And as our finance director, Ms. Cook, will share all her knowledge on this.
Sure. Legally, obviously, we have to have an investment policy for the auditors. And I gave you all the current investment policy that we have, which is basically only for sweep accounts. However, the statute allows us to do much more than that. And in speaking also with our municipal advisors, we wanted to update it to include most of everything that is allowed by statute. The only thing we didn't include was commercial paper, because obviously we don't have the manpower to sit around and watch, track everything to do that kind of investments. But we did want to have the main things that were available. And in our old one was only the sweep account, as I said, and even when I got here, we were doing things that weren't sweep account. So we need to bring that in line with the statute and also in line with what is the best thing for the city. So this just basically brings us up to speed. I will tell you right now that we currently have a sweep account on our main Chase account. We also have money market on our Apple Creek account. Between the two of them during this period, let me explain. I don't know if all of you know what a sweep account is, so I'll back up a minute and tell you what it is. It's basically a repurchase agreement. The money goes out, X amount of dollars, goes out every night to be invested, and then you get that money back in the morning. Like ours goes out at the end of the night, comes back in at about 9 in the morning. And then every month, whatever those dividends are, you receive those. So we have it set that everything in the Chase account, about $1.5 million, goes out every night and then comes back in the morning. We've been making between the two accounts, we've been making over $20,000 a month on our investments with the repurchase agreement and the money market account. So we've been doing pretty good. And I'm glad we could do it. There was a period of time that we couldn't do sweeps because it cost us more, because obviously the bank charges you some for doing it, but the charge was more than actually we were making. But now the market has been much better, so we've taken advantage of it, especially with the extra $3.8 million that we have to invest as much as we can to make money for the city and for the residents so that we can provide more services. Anything else you have a question about?
Question?
I just it looked like they did a bunch of updates, so they added, like you said, the additional parameters you can use for your investing. I changed some of the terminology in there.
Yeah.
The fiscal officer, the finance director, stuff like that.
Yep.
And this is updating a policy that was put in effect 14 years ago. So it probably needed updating. And this, all of this, as Ms. Cook mentioned, is all controlled by the state of Ohio and the auditors, and there are only certain things that can be done, and staying within those guidelines. Comfortable waiving 3? Yes. We will close the Finance Committee meeting at 6:48.
Thank you. Next up is going to be our laws and ordinance. Mr. Wolf.
Let's open up the Laws and Ordinance Committee meeting at 6:49 p.m. Ordinance number 25007, an ordinance approving the final plat of the Water 9 at Turkey Foot Lake Subdivision Phase 1, and accepting the dedicated right-of-ways, easements, open spaces, and public infrastructure improvements within said subdivision, and declaring an emergency. This came late today, right?
Yeah, what I found was all of the proper protocol and procedure was followed at the public hearing 2 weeks ago when council considered the final plat and approved the recommendation that came unanimously from planning and zoning. I was then advised that we did need to have an ordinance confirming that approval. So That's what this is. This is basically the rubber stamp on the action that the council took 2 weeks ago.
Is that okay waiting 3?
Yeah, I just had a couple questions on this. One, so I know once the roads are completed, you dedicate those and the city would take those over. This is calling out the right-of-ways, which I understand you gotta grant the right-of-ways and stuff before they build them and everything. But it also looks like we're accepting all the infrastructure stuff now that it hasn't been built. Is that something that you want to do?
Well, the whereas clause, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth one, and I think it says elsewhere, subject to further approval by city engineer. So it's taken into consideration that some of those things aren't detailed, but they would have to be, we reserve the discretion, the requirement that the city engineer is going to have to approve those.
And will there be something additional coming back for the dedication of the roads then?
I would assume.
Any other questions? Comfortable waiting 3?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Allman, who we have another ordinance and legislation.
Yeah, thank you. This is the short-term rental stuff that we've been working at for a while, and I'm really excited about this. Right now, New Franklin currently has no short-term rental framework at all. We have no rules, no regulations, no caps, no rules, no occupancy limits, no parking limits, and no clear enforcement on anything that comes to short-term rentals when it comes to anything pertaining to this. So this ordinance right here really fills that gap, and it gives zoning and safety officials something really concrete to work with that we don't have. And, we're really not guessing on this. Other communities already have seen problems with short-term rentals. Growth with no rules is always good. We want to keep this within a framework so we can guide how this goes throughout the community, make sure that we build a framework, and then everything will go forward with the enforcement of these rules that we hopefully will pass tonight. And, the cities are adopting this across the country for many reasons because of these issues, and, I really think we need something like that. And really, I feel the real choice tonight is rules or no rules. If we vote this down today, we stay exactly where we're at. No legislation, nothing to protect the community, nothing to protect the neighbors, homeowners, and people that have lived here their whole lives, really. And this is really for them to protect them from anything that's bad that would go on. And this is really proactive. As we currently know, the state's working on stuff. I really want to get something done before the state, as the state may look at doing weird rules currently with charter cities that may give us more power than other municipalities, which would be exciting if they gave us a little carve out for that. And the last thing is, I know I got some questions about exemptions for owner-occupied short-term rentals. Having an owner-occupied short-term rental does not really solve the problems that this legislation is really going after. This is supposed to be for noise, parking, trash, constant turnover, and the safety really involved in these short-term rentals. So if we carve an exception out for an owner-owned short-term rental that's occupied by the owner, it really is not enforcing the rules that we're trying to do here to protect the neighborhoods. So I'm not really looking for any exceptions for that. I think every short-term rental should be regulated because of these issues that I have been brought to know of in our community from that happened in the past. And that's why we need to pass this legislation to be proactive, have enforcement, and then make sure that we can track these as well. That's all I have.
I think you actually need to do the ordinance.
An ordinance providing for the regulations of short-term rental operations. I do not believe Robert's Rules of Order forces me to do that, but I will read it.
So, I know we've got public comment that we come out once we call a meeting order. Do you want to entertain public comment now, since I know we have some folks here that would like to talk about this, or you want to wait until
We
public comment?
can call public comment now.
You're talking, I am Green Norris, 4700 Buster's Road. Devin, your last comments were directed towards me because I talked to Devin about an owner-occupied. We're a unique situation. I have one Airbnb located on 20-some acres of property. The one parcel that this is on is 4 or 5 acres. We live on the same parcel. We have one Airbnb. We live on the parcel. We're adjacent to this property. We have no parking. We've had it 5 years. We've never had one complaint. It's just, we have a commercial property, we have the marina, we have trash. The nearest unrelated neighbor, I'd say, is maybe a quarter of a mile away because of the property that we own and as a family that we own. So I contacted him because I have seen legislation where if it's an owner lives on the same property, it's exempted. I've seen the comments and I've watched the videos of what your issues are and what really brought this up. We don't have any of those issues because there aren't any houses nearby. We don't have parking issues. I don't think in 30 years we've ever even had a noise complaint come from our property, and we have a bar. So I know that it's different and you don't want to carve that out. However, you can, and we're asking that you will.
If you've had no problems, this legislation would not affect you at all.
Yes, it
other
does
than
affect
you
me
would
at
have
all.
to track
Yes, it
it
does
and be
affect me. I
proactive.
have to rent this out 5 nights and clean for somebody to pay $1,000. That's a stiff, I have to rent 5 nights. And I don't rent but maybe 30 nights the whole year. So you're taking I'm paying the taxes, I'm paying the insurance, I'm cleaning the property, and I'm gonna have to rent 5 nights out of 30 that I only do now. I don't even think I do 30 on a short-term rental platform. And I'm having to pay a huge fine to me for the luxury of having a property that I haven't had complaints. So, yeah, it does affect me. And then I have to fill out these applications.
Does it not affect your neighbors at all that you have a lot of short-term rental people coming in and out? I've heard many comments from people not even liking the fact that there are
Never.
transient guests.
Never.
And that's why this proactive legislation would, thankfully for you who's never had any problems, would not carve out a rule for someone else who can game the system and have transient guests that would be problematic. This is supposed to prevent noise, parking issues,
Okay.
trash. If I carve out an exception for you, now you don't have to follow any rules and you get to do whatever you want. If I carve that exception out, that happens to everybody now.
What about a bed and breakfast?
Great term. You probably do a
What's
great
the
thing with
difference
your
between a
short-term
bed and breakfast?
Bed and breakfasts are definitely regulated in this, and I guarantee that you do a
Okay.
great job at your short-term rental. But if I allow this exception, it's just gonna allow the floodgates to open, and now nobody in the community will feel safe, because now I'm failing on my duty to protect them from these issues. If I make that exception, it just allows a workaround for anybody that says they live on the property, they can allow transient guests.
Many
We're
communities.
trying to regulate the noise, the trash, the guests, the parties, and you may or may not have them. And when the time does, and you do have one of those instances, God forbid, now the city has no recourse to help prevent that or even help. We don't even know it's a short-term rental because they're accepted from this ordinance. So this is why the exception would not work, to prevent the issues that we're trying to stop.
The issues that you're trying to stop are stopped because we actually live on the property, because we are there, because we monitor it, because you can look on the platform and you can see the rules and regulations that we've set forth, that we only allow 4 guests and 2 cars. So all the issues that you have been avoided because
Yes,
we
thanks.
actually live right there. So when an owner is actually on the property, it's a distinction without a difference with a bed and breakfast. We are right there, we're monitoring our property, we don't want those issues. It's wholly different than all the complaints you've had about owners that aren't around, owners that aren't available. We're there. And the communities that allow the owner-occupied exemption on the parcel of the property that the Airbnb is located, it can have conditions. It has to be the primary resident of the owner so that you know that's their home. They have to be there at the time that the property is rented. Wouldn't that have avoided a
So
lot
I
of
should
problems?
make an exception that if you were a good owner, if you're a good owner, you don't have to, these rules don't apply to you now. But if you're a bad owner, the city can do nothing.
That's not what I said. I
So
said
how do I make a framework then?
there are exemptions for an owner-occupied property when it's on the same parcel. That's all I've asked.
And I looked at it, I spoke to other municipalities, they said they've had this exception. People say they live there, and they probably do, they have short-term guests, and they break all the rules that this legislation is trying to protect the neighborhood from. This legislation will not affect you at all.
Yes, it
You're
will.
gonna
Don't
follow
say
all the
that.
rules.
That's
It's gonna
not,
protect-
that's not correct.
It's gonna protect the community,
That's not
you're still gonna
correct.
be allowed to have a short-term rental on your premises.
$1,000 a year.
$1,000 a year is the administrative costs that may not
A
even
year.
defray all the costs as well.
Every year.
Yeah, every year.
If it's $1,000 that takes for a property owner to practice having a short-term rental to protect their neighborhood, it's just what it costs to keep sure the city can protect these neighborhoods. I can guarantee you that throughout the discussions these weeks, you've heard people come to this council
Absolutely.
and discuss their anguish with having them in general. I'm trying to create a framework that protects property rights with rules, and these rules cost a little bit of money to enforce.
Well,
Now, I do
what about
not
my
want
rights?
that burden to fall upon the taxpayers to enforce or subsidize short-term rentals in the city. Do you want people to subsidize short-term rentals?
First of all, I have not spoken against the legislation. I think it's needed, okay? But what I've said is that we don't have the issues because of owner occupancy. There's no difference between really a bed and breakfast. You could have bad people there. You could have bad people at a hotel. You have 3 exemptions already. That you could still have problems there. And you could say the same argument you throw at me. Well, then the police can't come. They can't do anything. There's still rules. There's still regulations that allow for the police to come on the property and do their job. Noise ordinances. Disorderly conduct. To say that they can't do anything, it's false. And to say it doesn't affect me or my family is false also.
It affects the whole neighborhood.
I-
And that's what we're trying to protect right now, the city of New Franklin, with this legislation.
And I understand that. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Mike Hoffman, 4123 Melcher. And I've actually spoken up 3 times and said that Norris's property is not an issue. So
Thank you, I appreciate
if
that.
you could get yours reclassified as a bed and breakfast, which I don't, if you can, then that's, you're conforming to zoning and you're exempt from this. Would that be
Thank you.
right? If there's was classified as a bed and breakfast?
This ordinance affects no other part of the zone code.
The one comment I would make, if you're gonna vote tonight, I thought I had a commitment that you guys were gonna publish what you're gonna vote on, because there's been some edits and some discussion about different pieces of it. And I think the citizens deserve to know what the reg is.
They're always published online before the council meeting.
But you sound like you said you were gonna vote tonight and it wasn't published today.
I think it's the same one that they had 2 weeks ago. The only thing that's been changed to it, there was a typo in there that went from 10 to
10.
15.
There was the 15-mile radius. I put 15, and I didn't change the wording from 15 to 10. So that's all.
10 to 15 is an edit, and distance of
The agent or owner,
Okay.
someone.
and then you added some disallowing accessory, like RVs and.
Yeah, same thing last time, yeah.
Those are the
Permanent
only-
structures only.
Those are the only changes?
From last time. Well, we've worked on the permanent ban part too, so let me pull this all up.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand, if you guys are gonna vote tonight, I'd like to know what you're actually voting.
I think there was from 2 council meetings ago, but it was a change. Oh, that was the only change from last time, yeah, that was the only change.
And I know there was discussion about the, how many could be in a neighborhood, which is a significant.
The distance requirements.
There's 2 different ones. There's the distance between houses, which we've been advocating 5 feet is ridiculous to allow Airbnb, but also not having the whole neighborhood being populated with Airbnbs, even if they're regulated. Are you guys,
Yeah, you know, the
can you comment
distance
about
between the
that?
Airbnb doesn't make it good or not. The conduct of the property
Okay,
does.
so you don't care, I guess I won't say.
Well, the legislation currently doesn't reflect that. We'll vote on it tonight.
Okay, there's some discussion amongst some
Okay.
folks about distance between
Yeah, I'm
locations.
interested in council's comments about the neighborhood and how many could be in a neighborhood. Thank you.
I have a couple comments then if public comment is done. I don't agree with the $1,000 permit fee. I don't see where it will cost the city $1,000 to issue a permit. The conversation has been about enforcing it and enforcement and all kinds of other things. But I don't know. We haven't had problems with Airbnbs in the past, for short-term rentals, I should say.
I believe people have spoken.
I am speaking.
Okay.
Right.
We haven't had issues in the past, very limited issues in the past. So, yeah, as far as enforcement, it seems to me $1,000 is an opportunity for the city to make money off this, and I don't think that's necessary. I don't agree with the 15-mile radius of having someone available. I still don't understand what need there is for that. There's been conversation about, well, if there's parking issues or if there's unruly people, et cetera, that's something that the police is going to handle. The host or their representative is not going to be able to come in and really should not come into situations like that and try to enforce things that really you need to have the police handle. And if there's issues with maintenance of the property that aren't addressed right away, there's people are going to write reviews, and that's going to reflect poorly on the host and damage their business. I think that's an unnecessary burden to put on the host to have somebody in place. I also agree that we should have something in here about the distance between the short-term rentals that we permit. One of the issues across the country that I've seen in my research is that it becomes a problem when you lose the neighborhood, when you have multiple short-term rentals. You just lose the neighborhood feeling completely. So I would like to see that. You mentioned that we're going to be voting on this tonight. If we're going to vote on this, if this comes up for vote tonight, as it stands, I will be voting no on it. Thank you.
Yeah, the $1,000 is, I know Mr. Schaefer spoke to more people than I about this as well, but $1,000 is not very much when it comes to the cost of enforcement of these rules. When it comes to other cities, they spend about $2,000 or even more, so they said. I do not know how much it's going to cost for the city of New Franklin, but they had pretty parallel rules with ours. So this is really not going to make us money, and I really don't want to subsidize this on the citizens as well. So this is what I feel that would defray the cost sufficiently to where we're not gaining no money on this. $1,000 is not going to make or break the bank. We're going to make no money when it comes to the timing,
Can you
hours.
talk down to me a little bit more, please? Or if you're going to speak respectfully.
I will speak respectfully. I've said this last time about $1,000 is not to make no money. This is what other communities are usually caused to pay. It's how much it costs for other communities.
So, all right, so thanks for responding. One thing I'd like to mention is this came to us years back. I know it was Mr. Cox, Mr. Daniels, myself. We started working on this, and we run into a lot of roadblocks back then about trying to create a short-term rental policy. We tabled it, and it came back to us. We had residents come to us because there were problems. One of the concerns I have is one of the ones that Mr. Cox had brought up about having too many in an area. Now, one of the things that I love about this area is the charm of the neighborhoods. We have neighbors that we've had forever out there. I'd hate to see us not do something that creates an area, I won't call it a hotel district, but someplace where you have a section of the lake where these people start selling their homes and they turn into nothing but short-term rentals. And then you lose the people that have actually created the character of that neighborhood. So I'm an advocate for having some sort of spacing between them. I don't know if there's an appetite on here for it. I know this thing has grown from trying to protect certain areas to, it's an 8-page document now. But, and I get why that happens, and you gotta try to cover everything on there. I know some people want it to be less restrictive, and some of us would like to see a few other things in there, so I don't know how we adjust that or.
What if we just stay with no rules?
Or we could actually go back to the drawing board and all work together and try to find something, as opposed to just putting it on someone's shoulders. I think we need to help and really talk out the differences. What do you guys think? Do you think that would be a good idea?
Eric, what are your thoughts?
You know what, I think the framework we have there is pretty good. I do agree that $1,000 is kind of high. I went and smoked around with it, and I know you've done a lot of research, maybe you had more, but the highest fee, application fee I could find was Coventry, and they're at 300. And that was the highest in the state that I could find. Now, to offset that, I know a lot of the communities do charge up to a 3% bed tax on there, but that, to break even on 1,000, that's $30,000 for the rental year. You've got to pull that. Wondering if that doesn't seem.
I've heard people in the lake make upwards of $80,000+ a year.
And I looked at the Airbnbs in New Franklin, and our lake is $400 a night, and it's probably not an issue. But there were plenty on. There was a couple on New Franklin Smith, $150 a night, and that's a harder go for the houses that aren't on the lake.
I actually spoke to one of the gentlemen that helped write up the Coventry guidelines. He actually indicated to me that they were losing money at the $300 fee. What I would suggest is that if we do vote and this does pass, then we make a commitment to revisit the fee after the first year to see where it lies. If it is something that is way over priced, let's say, for argument's sake, say it only costs us $500. Well, then we credit the people who paid the $1,000 for the next year, so that it works out. We can put that on the books to revisit that at a later date if this actually goes. So I don't know what the right fee is. I just know that talking to the gentleman from Coventry, who's been involved in Coventry, $300 isn't getting it for him. It's costing the city money.
Did he say how much?
He did not indicate exactly how much. He just said that they were losing money.
On that same thought, is it something that we'd be willing to entertain if we readjust it to 500 right now and revisit it in a year if it needs to go up the escalator?
Doesn't make it one, it's half a dozen one, six of another at that point.
I have another question or comment, if I may. I can show you my earnings for last year because I make a decision how much I want to rent it out. Just because you see a number doesn't necessarily mean we get that every night. I made about $6,500. I choose not to rent it out all the time. I choose to have it available for family, friends, out of town guests, whatnot. $6,500. Now you want $1,000. Next 5 nights I have to rent it. 5 nights I'm renting out my property that I pay taxes, I pay insurance, I clean the place, I pay for the garbage, all the utilities, everything. And now I'm going to pay $1,000. That is insulting to say that that's not a lot of money to people. Maybe it's not to you, but it's a lot of money to me.
I said it was not. I never said how much it was to somebody. This is just to make sure that the city of New Franklin citizens are subsidizing the regulation of short-term rentals.
Well, I will be then.
You have a short-term rental?
Yeah, without any issues or problems. I'm going to spend $1,000 to get a permit. Okay. So it's on our backs.
On a short-term rental, yes.
Okay.
What are your thoughts?
I'm against it. It got too big. I don't like the process that everything falls on the zoning administrator, that he's sort of like the judge and jury. And not saying that our current one, but they can be bought and paid. There could be an opponent of it saying, hey, you know what is this going to take for you to turn this down? So there's too much on zoning. Why aren't we doing it for long-term rentals? If we're going to do it, let's do it both. So, I mean, I have a number of issues with it. I don't like that they have to announce where they're advertising, what platforms they're using, what business is it of the government to know where people are going to advertise. But a long-term rental guy, he's allowed to put a for rent sign up there, but a short-term rental, you're in violation to let people know that this is a short-term rental. So it's like, to me, it's too convoluted, and I have other, I don't want to go through it. I don't really want to, number of vehicles, 2 that are in a garage plus 2 others. Remember, there's a 5-bedroom home that has a big driveway and it's private gate where, no, sorry, you can't rent. So I don't think that's thought out. And really, that Coventry has been involved in litigation, and we're So far to date, we have had no rules and there has been no litigation for the city. So I'm sort of an advocate of waiting for the state.
I gotta interject just for a second. This is neither a pro nor a con, Mr. Wolf, on your thoughts, but, and I think this kind of rolled off as you were speaking, and I hope you didn't necessarily mean this, but to suggest that somebody in the city would be bought and paid for
No,
is unfair.
No,
So
right.
I'm not horrible, I just
Right,
want to make
right,
sure we're clear.
I just think any one person in any organization that can be. I would love to see more like a zoning appeals board with more than one person making that decision. Just I don't want it to be certainly not the current zoning administrator. I also worry about the workload, what this is going to do. Are we putting legislation together for one house? These are questions.
I get your point on that, and I fully understand.
There's many more. I just, I don't, as sort of where Mr. Cotts is, where it is right now, I'm a no. So,
Guys, would you guys be interested in doing a workshop and have this as one of the items that we mentioned? We have a couple that we would like to put on the agenda and maybe open it to the public as well and do a workshop on a Saturday. Are you willing to do that? And maybe talk out some of these differences? Is that a resounding yes? Did I hear it?
I was actually asked the mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do we have any insight from the state, any word from the state that says, we're 6 months away, we're 30 days away?
No, I haven't seen any, there haven't been any updates that it's closed. So it's still in committee.
I have some
And
comments from you. Yeah. So, on that point, I did see that the sponsor, Andrew Brenner, I think, had a meeting in up in Sandusky area, Marblehead. And they got tore up by the citizens up there. So they got no support up there. It's not gotten out of committee that Senate Bill 104. Not to say, it's crazy times in the Ohio legislature, so who knows what might come out of that. But I think your idea is reasonable, Ms. Jones, on a workshop. And I think you guys are close, and I do appreciate
I do too, honey.
you
I
spending
really
this
do.
time on it. I guess where I think you guys could get consensus as far as the fees, if you drop it to 500, I think the issues, Mr. Allman, you're having with the multiple visits are the ones that are making a lot of violations. But if you have enough teeth in the, you're going to pull the permit, then I don't think you'll have as many calls that's going to drive your costs up. I think you can control the expense of the police visits and things like that by maybe you need even more teeth in the ordinance, and maybe you drop it to 500. I do agree with Mr. Wolf on the Board of Zoning Appeals. I think that the public should have an opportunity. If you have an outlier, which I think we do in our neighborhood on the short-term rental, the permit process can say, is this particular place reasonable for the neighborhood? Quite different from where Norris's is. They're not 5 feet away from a non-resident or from some non-relation, person. That gives the public a chance to voice, and then people can come out and support it too. I'm not saying everybody's going to be against it. So I like the Board of Zoning Appeals, the 300-foot distance like Coventry has. I think you guys you're very close. So don't throw in the towel. If that's the process you guys want to take as a workshop, I'd love to participate and have other citizens.
I couldn't agree more. And I think we have about 3 items that we want to discuss in that workshop. And I think we could do that if everybody's willing to try. And I think we sure went on. Am I right, guys?
Enthusiasm is overwhelming.
It's okay, I understand that, I get it.
I know, everybody's just
that
dead
way.
out there like
You just have to find the right key.
I agree too.
And usually it's just to keep talking when you just want to shut you up. So if I shut up, would you say okay to a meeting? I will bring popcorn.
You want to try to vote on this now, or you want to hold on, try to
Yeah, we
adjust some stuff?
could lower it, 500. If it doesn't pass, it doesn't pass. We have no rules for short-term rentals. It's not the workshop, it's not inhibiting nothing else to be done.
Well, they might be, honey. and I hate to say that, but there might be, you heard what Greg said and what Jim said. We would like for everybody's opinion to get heard on this, and now they're opening up and telling some things, and I think that would be good. I know you don't see it that way, but I think it would be good for you to hear all of that.
I think, what do you, on like what?
Well, what Greg was saying, did you realize what Greg was thinking tonight? Did you already know
Yeah,
that?
well, he said a couple things, you want to speak more on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think where Mr. Hoffman and I agree is the one person holding that. I'm not saying it should be BZA, I don't know if it's another group but some sort of, I don't want one person doing it, making that decision. Yeah, that's strikes one thing off, but that's great.
Mhm.
That's better for me.
Adjustment of the fee would be another thing to scratch off for it.
Yeah, I'd like to see, if we're gonna do this, I'd like to see all rentals be done. Why are we penalizing the short-term rental people? There's things like smoke alarms must be, you have to admit that smoke alarms are okay, or that we don't care about people that are long-term, why aren't we regulating that? And I sort of say that jokingly, that I don't think it's necessary to have that. So it just got out of hand. There's a lot in there. What was originally a page is 8 pages. I think it needs a lot more work from my end, but I think there's more consensus amongst everyone else. Do you know what I mean? Don't let me steer this.
If I may, it's all respect to Mr. Allman. It's you put a lot of work into this, and I guess it. But on your point, I wrestled a lot with that notion of just the zoning administrator being the one who makes the call. There's some comfort in the fact that that a denial can be appealed and would go to the BZA. Whether or not there need to be something written in there that the public, and I don't know who that is, they have some appeal right. There is notice to the public, you're posting signs and you're giving people, it's written in there, as I recall, that an opportunity for input from neighbors, et cetera, once they're on notice, and that would be the zoning administrator. To think, well, maybe we kick this over to planning and zoning, they are very busy and they're going to be busier. And these are the kind of things that could be 2 or 3 hearings.
How about zoning appeals?
Well, that'd be, to have a BZA, that might work.
That's where I was.
Yeah, or my other thought, which is about 30 seconds old, is possibly an appropriate committee from council with the zoning administrator.
Or another board
Whether
to look
that's
at that.
community development, or whether it's safety or whatever. You already have committees, so you could have that committee charged with the zoning administrator to consider those. I haven't thought that all the way through, and in terms of how you present that, but
Oh, would you like to come to a workshop?
I'm sorry.
Would you like to come to a workshop?
I love workshops.
I love it,
Yeah.
okay.
Not
That's
this one
one vote.
necessarily.
Wait a minute. Now, I have that on film, do I not? That was kind of a shot down.
But I mean, so I get that part. I understand. It's a lot for the zoning administrator, and it's tough for one to, So how do we flesh that out without putting it on the, I wouldn't want to see it go to planning and zoning. So maybe if it went to BZA, okay. They're less busy.
Well, I know Mr. Roman's put a ton of work into this, and I'd hate to see it not go anywhere if there's not enough support for it, with all the work that's put into it. I would think it might be prudent to just take a little bit more time and try to adjust everything to get more people in support of it. Any other thoughts on it?
No, I think that's a good thought, I guess.
Mr. Cox?
I spoke my piece.
All right, we close out. All right. We are unfortunately going to close out the Laws and Ordinance Committee meeting at 7:24 p.m.
All right, thank you. I'd like to call to order the City of County Council for December 3rd, 2025. Would you please join me in a pledge?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kelly, would you call roll, please?
Mr. Cox?
Present.
Mr. Schaefer?
Present.
Mrs. Jones?
Present.
Mr. Powell?
Present.
Mr. Stiles?
Present.
Mr. Wolf?
Present.
Mr. Almond?
Present.
Do I have a motion for the approval of the minutes for the public hearing on November 19th?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
I have a first and a second, Kelly?
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Do I have a motion for the approval of the minutes for the regularly scheduled meeting of November 19th?
I'll make a motion.
I have a first,
Second.
I have a second.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yep.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
The public comments, if you would address council, state your name, your address, and please keep your comments to 4 minutes.
Judy Costco, it's 10715 Strasser, North Fulton. It's in regards to the cemetery again, and I hope the cemetery would be on the list for your workshop. It's heartbreaking to go up there and find all your stuff gone. And the little tractor that was there that our grandkids wanted for Grandpa to have, that was not bothered. My husband is in the very back row. 99% of the people going through that cemetery don't even see it. And it's gone. It's not, I don't know what Brian did with it, but it's gone. And so our one grandson said, Grandma, we got to have a tractor there. Well, our 10-year-old great-grandson, when he found out the tractor was gone, he cried his heart out because he was so close to Grandpa. And that tractor was something they worked with together. And the one thing that bothers me, the one day before school started, he wanted to go up and check Grandpa's grave to be sure everything was okay. So we went up. Well, there's a car sitting in the middle of the cross road street there, alley, in the cemetery, and it was loaded with flowers, and I thought, what the heck, who would have that many flowers? Well, we watched. Well, they're taking flowers out, and they're holding them up and putting them at the grave, and they're videoing it. And then they're taking them off again. And I thought, well, that's kind of stupid. If you want to see a nice grave, go look at my husband and my in-laws. It's the same all the time, and it's very nice. I've had so many compliments on that grave of people that knew Butch, that have driven by to look at it. And they just are real pleased. And I don't know if this is making Brian feel more powerful, that he can stop us from having solar lights. What is wrong with solar lights? I have checked a lot of cemeteries out, and there's a lot of solar lights, but they just keep getting pitched up there. And I've talked to different people that have come in the cemetery while I was there. And the one lady said, I keep putting solar lights on the grave, and they keep disappearing. I said, please don't give up. I am fighting this, and I said, this is all we can do for our loved ones, to decorate their graves, to show people that we care and we love them. And it's just not good. And if my in-laws lived in Manchester their whole life. My husband lived in Manchester, so we built a house in North Fulton. So we paid our taxes. The Costco family just paid their taxes. And then we buy these cemetery lots, and now we're told nothing. All the years we took care of those lots. Nobody had to do anything. We've got that three-sided fence up there now that is a real eyesore. And yet you can't have a little gate with a wrench on it, and you can't have 3 solar lights on my mother-in-law and father-in-law in our grade. But, and then you got that house on the corner of Perlman that should have been torn down 25 years ago. And that's a real eyesore. There's nothing in that cemetery. I know there's people that don't take care of their graves, but worry about them. Don't pick on the ones of us that do take care of our graves. And so I'm asking. I mean, you told me the first time I came, okay, you'll talk about it, and you would call me. But I've never heard anything, and I came back again. Well, now I'm back again. And I'm not asking for the sun and the moon and the stars. All I want is solar lights for anybody that wants them. And we put fresh flowers on, and we always take them off. Nobody has to lift a finger on our graves. Never had in over 50 years. My father-in-law's gone. So I'm just asking for a little bit of common sense and a little bit of heart. I appreciate it.
If I may,
Sorry. There's one thing I wanted to address real
go
quick.
ahead.
You know, Brian and his crew take care of that cemetery, and he gets a little bit of gruff in here from time to time about it, but he's only upholding the regulations that this council passed.
There-
No work aiming at that, but it was on this council's shoulders that
Okay.
passed that, and I'm not saying it doesn't need to be readjusted,
Yes,
but Brian is doing the work as assigned to him.
but where's our tractor? It was a little Cub Cadet, not Cub Cadet, a Kubota. And so what happened to it? Where did it go? Brian?
I'd like to add to her grief and heartache, because I lived there. I was here a couple weeks ago. Everybody remembers, I'm sure. Jan Adams, 6702 Hampshire. I hear this woman speak, and it might be my mom sitting here. I've been in this community since I was born. I'm almost 70. I've never seen disgrace like this to the people of the cemetery who own that cemetery. All of us own that cemetery who are residents here. And God forbid she build a house in Canal Fault and was a person stay. I'm just kidding. But honestly, she paid her taxes. Her husband did when he lived here. He bought the plot. He bought the headstone. They bought that. And to not be able to leave a tractor sit on the top of it. And that tractor disappeared, by the way, guys, the day after I was here last time. So let's note that.
And that's when the lights and everything disappeared.
I mean, she might have gotten in trouble for putting it back out. That's her fault. But who took it off the day after the meeting? It was gone again. So, yes, I understand Brian's got a job to do. I also understand he was sitting in the back when I was here, and he never gave me so much as a smile. Anybody that wants to try to help with this situation does not aggravate the situation. There's discussion to be had. And Kevin, God love you. You called me back after I sent you an email, and we had what I thought was a very decent conversation, but it was 2 weeks ago. And we can
It was
have
a week of Thanksgiving.
weekend before, the Monday before Thanksgiving. So this coming up is a week after Thanksgiving. But I've not heard anybody even mention getting together and the thing. So Judy says, let's have a powwow, and I would love to come to that. I'm sure she'd be more than willing to come to that. It's like, I don't understand the tension up here. I've sat in this stand and I've caused tension and I've not caused tension because I've been here my whole life. But I'm telling you, the tension between the two end groups here makes me nervous sitting here. And I have to tell you, I think sometimes we get a little high on our horse in the way we speak to one another. And I agree with you, Mr. Cox. That was kind of, you're patronizing people. And that's what I feel is happening here with Judy. You guys are patronizing her. You're saying what the right thing to do and say up there to sound good. And then she's left to wonder what the heck is happening. A phone call? Not even a phone call. Not even a text. Not even an email. How about let's get this done so she can relax? She's obviously very upset about this. And so let's come to a middle ground, like I said 2 weeks ago when I was at this meeting. Instead of just sitting here, Judy's trying, and you guys are all, no offense, he told you how he felt. At least he stood up and said, and you did too, Greg. I'm sorry I have to look at your names because I don't know you guys. But at least you opened your mouths. The rest of you, it's like, she's saying, does this sound good, guys? How about this? Come on. I want to stand up and go, good, yay. And nothing. It's just quiet. You hear a pin drop. What the heck are you people doing? We're working for the community, I thought. We're up here in these seats that you put up here so we can make comments. Mrs. Morris is over here begging for her life, and you're like making her problems nothing. I tell you what, you charge me $1,000 for what she's having, I'd be broke because I don't have a pot to piss in. So if you told me my fee was $1,000 and you go, what's $1,000, and you said it isn't going to make or break us, then break ya. Don't break her. She's trying to do something. And you kind of mock it like it's no big deal. And that is so wrong here. And I've come to 2 meetings in the last 10 years because I had little issues in my household. But I'm here now, and I'm here to help these kind of people. And you speak well for yourself, and I know you've got your side of things, and people are speaking up in the audience, and you guys are dead nothing. And then when you say you're going to call us back, we get nothing. And we have to, she's 80-some years old and has to make a trip up here in the winter. Why? It should have been handled 2 years ago when she first complained about this. When this rule started a year ago. Now here I am, I'm trying to help her, and I really don't have any dog in the fight, but dang, I'm starting to get one. So let's just quit passing the buck and quit saying who knows. Speak up like Mr. Scott Pat, speak up like Mr. Wolf. Say, Judy, thank God for you. And stand up there and organize something to settle this for her, to settle this for Mrs. Morris. And you were ready to make a move on a vote. I was going to have to stand up and say, I don't want to vote. I don't get a vote. But it's obvious you're not even ready to vote because you got a conflict of what you're still discussing up there. And to just pass it on, and if it doesn't pass, well, then you made that comment. If it doesn't pass, well, it doesn't pass. It's over. No, it isn't. You need to discuss it. Then if it doesn't go. I'm sorry. I'm getting as upset as her, and I don't mean to. I normally have a very level head at this stage of my life, but I'm tired of it. And I got better things to do than come up here and fight for something that should have been handled months, if not years ago.
And I do too.
She does.
But
we all do.
Solar lights on my father-in-law's grave ever since solar lights came out.
And I mean, this is all stupid stuff. You got 12 inches on one side of a 4-sided stone. She's got 12 inches to deal with. Let her alone on that 12 inches. For God's sake, go after somebody who puts a naked woman there. Sure, her place looks great. So let her alone. And when you see somebody violating, then you go to them and say, stop it, or we'll take your stuff away. It's not like there's so much time involved. I'm spending more time up here than you guys can have it handled. End of story. Please do something. Please.
Thanks, Ms. Adams. And also that, Judy mentioned there's other items we want to talk about in the workshop, and that's.
I was sure it was. I could tell when I saw her. She was going to put that cemetery right in there. I was glad of that.
Anybody else? Seeing none? Move on from public comment. Resolution 25R71, Kelly.
A resolution accepting the proposal and authorizing an agreement with Wadsworth Solutions for the upgrading of access control equipment for the city of New Franklin and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Kelly. I'd like to make a motion to waive the 3 reading rule on resolution number 25R71.
Second.
You have a first and a second?
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to pass resolution number 25R71.
Second.
You have a first and a second?
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
No.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Resolution passes 6-1. Resolution 25R72, Kelly.
A resolution authorizing New Franklin to participate in the Summit County Engineers Regional Pavement Maintenance Program for 2026 and declaring an emergency.
This resolution was assigned to the Streets and Drainage Committee. I motion to waive the 3 readings.
Second.
The first and second?
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
I motion to adopt resolution 25R72.
Second.
The first and second?
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0. Resolution 25R73.
A resolution to adopt an updated investment policy for New Franklin and declaring an emergency.
This resolution is assigned to the Finance Committee. We move to waive the 3 readings on Resolution 25R73.
Second. The first and second?
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
We move to adopt Resolution 25R73.
Second.
The first and second?
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes. Resolution passes 7-0. Ordinance 2507.
An ordinance approving the final plat of the Water 9 at Turkey Foot Lake Subdivision Phase 1 and accepting the dedicated right-of-ways, easements, open spaces, and public infrastructure improvements within said subdivision and declaring an emergency.
This ordinance was brought in front of the Laws and Ordinance Committee. We move to waive the 3 readings.
The first and second?
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
We move to adopt ordinance 25007.
Second.
The first and second?
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
I still own property that abuts this, so I'm going to abstain.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
I have a working relationship with one of the vendors attached to the project, and for that reason, I abstain.
All right, resolution passes 5-0. I'm sorry, ordinance passes 5-0. Ordinance 2504.
An ordinance providing for the regulation of short-term rental operations.
This ordinance was assigned to the Laws and Ordinance Committee. I ask the Council President for time.
Time requested, time is granted. All right, next up is going to be our favorite part of the meeting, the mayor's report.
Thank you. Leaf drop-off continues, if you can find any of them under the snow. I'm going to have to peel all the snow off those 8 bags I got in my driveway that are coming from the sewer. Anyway, we got one more, and it's Saturday. And it's, we going noon to 3 or 9 to 3? 9 to 3. 9 to 3, over the service drive. So get those last leaves over there if you can find them. Christmas open house will be a week from this coming Sunday, so it'll be December 14th, from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., and it just keeps getting more fun and more fun. The inside of the house is decorated. We'll have punch and hot chocolate in there and cookies. Santa and Mrs. Claus will be there. And outside we've got a live nativity and an opportunity to pose in the actual garments, so you can be those people for a day.
Will this be at your house?
Well, I kind of consider it my house. It's sort of my, yeah. When I was a kid, I used to run the kids through there forever, and I said, someday I'll own that house. I didn't really own it, but although some people think I do. That's another story.
But it is the Tudor house.
It is the Tudor house. Yes, it is the Tudor house. And there's going to be a snow globe that you can get inside the snow globe and get your picture taken. So come on out and have fun with us on Christmas. And really the best part of it, I think, for at least for me, is the local choral groups. The various schools and churches, they send the kids, and also Judge McKinney and Beth will be there. And they've got actually a little ensemble now. It's not just the two of them. So come on out and have fun there. All right, the final code revisions, and that's, I'd love to get this at least, I don't know if you can pass it, but at least in the, the what?
Second.
Thank you. The code we've been working on for a long time. And we've had starts and stops and stalls, et cetera, for a variety of reasons. But it is now we had it in a kind of a final draft form, and then we started making changes to the tax code that were required by the legislature. We wanted to tweak a few things in the criminal code, like a snow parking ban and those kinds of things. The bulk of it is ordinances that we've already passed. And I mean, when I say the bulk of it, I mean 95% of it. Ordinances that we've already passed, or the Ohio Revised Code, which we have already been guided by. So the final revisions came out. I sent out a couple weeks ago what they were. We got it back from our code people, and they've got it in the form. These big monster books that hardly anybody ever use anymore, but we have them here. How you'll be able to change some of those papers. We'll have those back there for you. But I think if you go through that, you'll see what has changed. So if there's any